Hello, my name is Ben. Today I'm going to be showing you this turbo tank that I actually designed in Bricklink's Studio app and ended up building the whole thing, which was pretty awesome. I want to preface this with I'm trying to do this video all in one take if possible, so things may be a little choppy, things may take me a moment to place some minifigures in, but I'm really going to go into a ton of detail about this. I'm going to show you the entire inside, all the features of it, and I'm super excited. I've spent a ton of time designing this, so I've got so many details to share with you. But if you're interested in just how it looks or how the inside looks, feel free to totally skip ahead and skip through the video just to see that. And yeah, hope you enjoy. So anyways, in like fall, end of summer, you may know LEGO released their newest turbo tank, and it was not very good. It was $160, and people called it the tiny tank because it was tiny, super small. The minifigures were awesome. Great to see a Ki-Adi-Mundi and the Galactic Marines for the first time ever. If I get a chance, I am going to try to buy those off of Bricklink, actually, just the minifigures. But I've recently spent quite a bit of money building this, so kind of low on funds right now. But anyways, it was my idea back then, and I really had this idea for a long time, but that I really wanted to design something that was better than anything LEGO could make. So in this case, the turbo tank, because I really felt like, man, for something that's $160, I feel like I can make something that's way better, way more accurate, bigger, and actually holds minifigures for about the same price. And I was kind of right. Now, I also want to do a quick side-by-side. This is actually the 2017 turbo tank, the only LEGO one that I have. I personally think that this one and the 2010 Clone Wars style turbo tank, best turbo tanks LEGO has released. If you haven't had a chance to get this one, I think it's really awesome. It does actually open up, and unfortunately the inside doesn't hold a whole lot of minifigures. There's actually really only 3 seats in this entire set. I modified my inside just a little bit so I could hold a lot more minifigures, but that was always kind of my big idea, was any turbo tank realistically should be able to hold 300 minifigures. And while this one over here isn't quite that big, it is able to hold around 75 comfortably, and I believe it has like 48 seats. So again, I'm gonna get into everything. So actually, yeah, for this entire thing, it took me about a month to design. The set itself is 2,908 pieces. That's sort of a rough estimate because that's the number it is when I use the online design, but there were a couple pieces that I've since then added or had to switch out or replace just to make things work slightly better. But it has pretty much the same functionality as the 2017 turbo tank. So I'm going to lift this up real fast so you can kind of see. But each wheel has an axle that is actually a Technic beam right here. And that Technic beam is attached to these gray Technic boxes. Maybe it's kind of hard to see. But that's essentially the same sort of framework that I used for mine. Is I had a ton of Technic beams that were attached just by a single connection point into a gray box. Now, this one, it's great because all those beams allow it to like turn side to side and make really accurate turns, you know, which I thought was a really cool feature. And as I can kind of show you, like mine does the same thing. The other big thing that this like suspension system has are these middle wheels, which I'll actually show just a little bit closer. But it essentially has a spring right here, and that spring works that whenever it's pushed one way or the other, it'll go right back into place. And that way it keeps it upright and it's not just like listing to one side until you physically push it back up. And I think that's super awesome. Like, I think LEGO cooked with that, the axles, the suspension, everything about that is like absolutely perfect. What Lego did not cook with though is interior space and exterior design. It looks like a turbo tank, but this looks like a real turbo tank, like straight out of the source material. I literally got a book for Christmas that has like cross sections of a ton of Star Wars vehicles, and the cross section is what I used to design this. So the other thing that I actually liked about the new turbo tank was the brick built wheels. So all of my wheels that I used are brick built. Unlike in the 2017 model, they're all just like a single solid plastic piece. Now, downside of doing just a single piece is you can't get them quite as big. And as you can see, like a side by side, mine are a bit bigger than Lego's 2017 one. I think if anything, the wheels for this set are slightly undersized compared to the body. We'll get more into that later too, but yeah. So I did design all the wheels. They each have, like I designed this whole thing, but each of the wheels have 81 pieces. So in total, 810 pieces on just the wheels. I used like a sand blue for the side. Again, I really like that in the new Lego turbo tank. The sand blue looked really, really nice, and I wanted to replicate that. But something that I did slightly different about mine is actually each of the individual treads in the wheels are slightly different. Like in the two side ones, I have like sloped tile pieces in between the actual plates to give it like a sort of smooth look to it. And in the two middle plates, I have jagged tile pieces to give it a sort of like rough texture. Because realistically, like if this thing is plowing over like rocks and dirt and stuff like that, it's got to have like something to catch and give it traction. So I really like how these turned out. Unfortunately, they're actually spinning really well now, but they spin a lot better on carpeted surfaces, like something rough. On like a smooth surface, they don't get a whole lot of traction because it essentially like the only parts that's really actually touching the ground for the Lego is just the 8x8 circular plate. Versus in Lego, they have like these little gaps in between, so it gets traction pretty much anywhere. And then I'm gonna lift this up real fast too and kind of show you the underside. But like I said earlier, the suspension is all the exact same. So 4 out of the 5 used that same Technic beam that goes straight across. That's what allows it to turn side to side. And then the middle of it, this middle one right here, actually also has one of those spring pieces on it. And that's what gives it like the same ability as Lego, that like you could push it either way, but in the end it's still gonna stay upright. Like it's not gonna fall over and just stay there. Like it'll stay upright. I also wanted the side detailing on the bottom to look really good. So for instance, like, yeah, you can kind of see, like I have a few details along the inside. These springs are actually, it looks like they're connected to the wheel. They actually don't do anything. They're just fixed into place. They're just connected via Technic pins on the bottom and top. But I think it looks really good, and it actually looks pretty accurate compared to the source material. Yes. So the first major thing that I want to get into with this is its size is pretty huge. Like I said, it's almost 3,000 pieces. I basically just tell people it's 3,000 pieces. It's really like 2,900 and something. But it is massive compared to the 2017 tank. Let me give you sort of a closer view of this. But you can see, like, if I have them both starting at the same spot, like, it dwarfs it in its width. The side panels, this side panel right here is actually double the height of this side panel right here. So the piece that they use there, I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but there's actually 2 of those plates just to make this one side panel. So it should be, I mean, not really double the height, but yeah, it is quite large, and from all sides too. Like I said, they're like right up, this one's actually a bit farther, but like if you put them like you know, start to finish. Like this one goes on quite a bit more. Literally every feature of it makes it so much taller. Like taller, wider, everything. I'll give you like a minifigure for comparison. So this is a minifigure next to the wheel, just like standing, which is pretty crazy. Like that was another big thing. Like anyone who plays Battlefront 2 knows there's a map on Kashyyyk with the turbo tank, and just standing next to it, like in the video game, such a surreal moment. But I really wanted to have that same sort of idea play out with like my actual minifigures. And it ended up working out really well. All right, I'm gonna set the camera back. Okay, so let's start getting into some of the exterior and part of the interior details of this. So the first thing that I was also super excited about, actually I did a lot of research about other MOCs and what other MOCs do, because I not only wanted mine to be like better than Lego's versions, but I also wanted it to be like a combination of all the best parts of other MOCs, right? So mine is uniquely mine. I want to say that, like the inside of mine, not based off of really anything other than like source material. Everything else is like my own original design, right? But there were certain ideas that I did like from other MOCs. One in particular was like a fake Lego Chinese knockoff that it actually used, I'll move this out of the way, but it actually used this entire bottom part right here as part of like the actual build, rather than in Lego's version, at least in the 2017 one, like that's pretty much just empty space, and it looks really janky too. Like there's not a whole lot to look at right there. So I like that I not only have like a very slick and smooth looking design, but actually that part has an interior, which I'm super excited about. I have to kind of lift it up a little bit to show you, but this front flap actually opens up, and inside there is space not only on this side but on the back side for a speeder bike in this front one to fit all the way down. Like this fits like literally perfectly in there, and yeah, like it pushes down correctly, it folds up to the correct position, and turn it around. And in this back part that I was actually super excited about, because this is just like a Lego speeder bike that I had. This one over here though is something I designed, and it is actually another troop bench, and this is made to fit 10 more minifigures. And I've already tested this, and I'm actually going to show you right now with one of my minifigs. So I have little weapon racks on them right here, so you can just pop their blaster in, stick them down on either of the sides, and you do have to kind of bend him in just a little bit, and it can fit like full 5 on either side, maybe even more, I'm not sure. I don't think I've tried it with every single one in, but, and then you just slide him in, and he fits literally, like there's almost no room to push it in, but the whole thing fits in. I have done this with like 8 minifigures on it, and all of it works perfectly, and you can just slide it out super easily, and you literally, like, that adds space for 10 more minifigures, which I think is super cool, because one of my favorite things about designing this was making sure that there is literally no wasted space whatsoever. So literally everything in this will be put to use. Okay, next thing I want to go over before we get to the interior is some of these exterior designs. Now, when I had like my initial plans for making this, I was really focused on the interior. Like, I love the interior sets. Of course, I want things to look really cool too, but I think my favorite part of any Lego set really is like opening it up to see how many troops you could fit inside of it, like to carry your soldiers around. Like, I think that's so cool. But of course though, the turbo tank is a really awesome Star Wars vehicle with a ton of really distinct features. So I made my absolute best. I feel like it's my best that I could try to portray this as close to like source material images as possible. So I also had to make sure that each of these were also functional. So it not only like has to look good, but it has to work well too, right? So bit of a challenge of a design because this is my first and only Lego MOC I've ever made and actually built in real life too. So this whole thing took a long time to make, but I wanted to make sure every part of it was perfect or as close to perfect as possible. And I'll actually go through this in sort of the order that I built it. So this first section, I ended up making the back first. There's like these little headlights here. I have slight indentation with these slope pieces to give it the view that like this window is sort of sunken in a little bit, and I think it looked like it turned out really, really well. This front panel can actually be pulled down. I'm not going to do it all the way quite yet. And these two side panels can also slide out. This top part is the only thing that's fixed in this back thing. Now, a lot of this is kind of similar to this right here. Like it's got that nice windowing. It's got the red stripe on the side right there. But the rest of it was kind of like there was a lot of creative freedom with how I wanted to do this. I wanted to keep like the gray tiles as simple as possible so that you didn't see like as many of like the lines in between the tiles. And on the side as well, same sort of idea. So I tried to keep those like as simple, minimal as possible and use just like those sleek tiles for everything. Because honestly, when I look at these side by side, like just the exteriors, I think what really sets this apart is like how smooth this looks. And it really like, you never think about it when you have the Lego set, but it makes you think like, oh wow, just these studs don't really look so great. Like it doesn't look as good as I guess it could be. So that was my whole goal with that. And I think this back turned out really, really well. I really like this part. And the other thing was finding out like how to make sure that the gaps are pretty well closed and, you know, like hold together, like there's no visible space in between, like you can't really see into the set in any of the gaps. I think I did a really good job with that too, especially like this is a fixed slope versus this is a movable one. I feel like it covers up that gap pretty well as well. All right, the next part of this, I may move the camera in just a sec to see, but is actually this turret on the top, which does rotate a full 360 degrees. And this top part actually moves as well, so you can move it quite a bit. Unfortunately, this is the highest like up it'll go, but I think that's actually totally fine. I really like it. And I know this actually isn't exactly what it should look like. Realistically, you wouldn't really sit someone up here. Like it would kind of just be its own thing and it would be controlled from the inside. But I like having like a minifigure in it. I think it looks really cool. And this is sort of like a play scale, in my opinion, a playable set. So one where you can like sit a minifigure up here, I think is awesome. And again, this top, pretty design, very simple. I'll go ahead and pick up the camera, show you some closer details. So yeah, you can move it around. There is like a little control panel right there. Nothing too special. Again, I wanted this part to look really like simplistic, not a whole lot going on. All right, the next part I designed was actually this top section right here. And again, super simple. In canon, I think this is supposed to be like the engine housing section of it. This exterior panel right here, it's actually the exact same design on the other side. Most of this is symmetrical, but I took a lot of time making this one. It ended up, I think, looking sort of like a person with two arms and a head right there, but I think that looks really cool. Like, greebling, very, very fun to make. And yeah, I'll show you on the other side as well. But yeah, same exact one. And you can kind of see like a closer view of this thing as well. All right, next I have these back panels. And these actually swing too, but I kind of want them to be like held in place because this part and this top part are both like swing up and are removable. So I wanted to keep those like still because these are held on by a pretty weak connection, and it's still easy to put minifigures in. Like, it's a big enough place up top. So I actually have this cool design up here. These are supposed to be like 2 blocks, and these are supposed to be like power cables that attach to them. And I think I portrayed that pretty well in Lego. Like, it turned out really well. This part probably has the most noticeable gaps there are, but again, like, even filming this, like, you can't even really see into the set. And I think it's definitely like comparable to real Lego sets. Like, it looks pretty good. Okay, this next part are gonna be these main bodies. I actually want to point out, when I ordered all these pieces, one of them randomly had this sticker on it, and I didn't order it with the sticker, but it ended up being like a perfect sticker for this set to kind of have like some battle damage. So I put it on there, and I thought it looked really good. Okay, this next part, probably my favorite panel to make. I wanted mine because in the movie, in Revenge of the Sith, when you see the turbo tanks on Kashyyyk, they fire off like, I think 16 or like a box of 32 missiles, and Lego's version only has 2. Mine, slightly better. I mean, it only has 4, but I actually was thinking of doing like a double-decker one, having 8 of them, but I feel like it would have jutted out a little bit too far. The other big feature of this is this cannon right here. Now, this is actually rotates around like all the way, but on both sides, these are identical. And this is supposed to be like a medium anti-personnel or whatever laser cannon. And like, in literally every single Lego set, it doesn't even look anything like this. Like, this thing is so long. Like, this is Lego's version of the same cannon, is this flimsy little wheel over here, right? Like, barely even looks like the real thing. But this, believe it or not, is like super close to what all the reference images had, was this long structure. Like, I think I nailed the proportions of this like perfectly. And I also love like how smooth that design looks, like how it like fades straight into like that circular the circular like tiled brick, smooth brick. It looks really well. Like, I just love like the whole look of this thing. Oops. But the fact that all of it is like super smooth, there's not like a single part that's like, you know, rough or something. I just chipped a piece off real fast. Okay, give me 1 sec. Okay, awesome. So back to it, like, yeah, I think this looks really good. And as you can kind of see, the transitions from these are actually bricks right here. And there are some gaps in between, but I feel like I did a okay job of covering up most of those. This is a little indented, but it kind of had to be that way so that it wouldn't like block the stud shooters. But I don't know. I think that's maybe one of the design flaws, is having this farther out. But when you look at like the whole thing, it's hardly noticeable. And yeah, I feel like it's a-okay. So the next part I worked on were these front side panels, which they actually have these like huge headlights, which were quite large. So I wanted it to like jut out quite a bit. And when you look at like the tank from the front view, like, they are really noticeable. Like, you can see the huge headlights on either side. You can see the cannons. And the other part too is like, it really does look like this window continues all the way. And you can see there, like, I used the sloped tiles right here to make it like that slight indent and sort of give it that feel that like the window is really sunken back into the actual tank. And I also have this like nice little greebling, but again, most of this is pretty smooth. There's not a whole lot of details going on. I did find this technique that I thought was really cool of like having diagonal pieces next to each other. ended up looking really well. And there is quite a bit of detail in just the fact like of how the tiles, like the gaps or the little cracks between the tiles. And again, these parts do swing out. This whole panel, I'll actually show you, pulls off and is supposed to come off. All right, and lastly, I have this front part for the bottom at least. I have the two laser cannons down here. Again, my own sort of design, but I think they turned out pretty well. They look sort of similar to Legos, slightly different, quite a bit longer, I think, and I think they're supposed to be, like, I think it's proportional to how it is. There's actually two more headlights here and on the other side as well, and those turned out really well. And like, just looking at this thing, like, it is a very, very imposing sort of feel, you know? Like, the fact that a minifigure sitting down there, so small compared to looking up at this thing. And it only, like, I'll show you the top later, it only really gets bigger. Like, it is absolutely massive. So I also used the slip technique right here, and I think this part turned out really, really well, even though there's like a small gap there. But I think small things like that can even look good on the exterior. Like, yeah, all of it turned out really, really well. I'm very excited about this. And this actually does pull down too. The only unfortunate thing is these right here, you have to kind of push them down before you actually put the actual thing down. So that's maybe the only downside I can think to this. But on the positive side, it actually does help to sort of keep this lifted up, because the other thing that was kind of an issue that I didn't really prepare for, I guess, was all of these panels actually weigh quite a bit. And the weight of it kind of forces you to have really strong connections for where your panels like move up and down or where they're supposed to hinge, simply because like it weighs a lot and it needs like a lot of connections to hold it in place. All right, this next part is actually probably the part that maybe least looks like the source material, I feel like, and it's this top section. Realistically, this is supposed to be like a hatch that like a commander could like poke their head out of, and this is supposed to be like a communication tower. Now, this little radar dish, I feel like this is a pretty good representation of showing it, but realistically, this whole thing should actually be like jutting straight versus it's at the angle that the flap is at. And I mean, it's fine how it looks. I did use a printed piece right there to give it that sort of like hatch feel. I think it turned out really well as well. And again, this front part, like, there's very, very minimal gaps. It's extremely hard to see inside of it. I think if anything, it's like this long gap right there, which, as you can see, I kind of try to cover up with these little, they have like sort of half dividers, half a stud almost, not even half a stud, to come out to make it wider. And the cool part about this is this actually rests on the side panels here. Like, if I were to push these outward, it would actually fall down, I think, a bit more. Yeah. So it ended up turning out really, really well. And yeah, like I said, each of these panels are probably about like anywhere from 2 to 3, probably 3 studs wide at most. So they are quite thick. All right, moving on to the last portion right here. I want to sort of give you like an overhead of this, because I ended up making this really cool diamond pattern with all the paneling here. And this part, I think, turned out really, really well. It does have on the front these two like spotlights that are orange. And you can kind of see them. They kind of get covered up a little bit by this. I felt like if I made them any taller, it would have stood out a bit too much. These, I'm not exactly sure what they're supposed to be, but there's a lot of small like greebling things. I think these are like more power couplings or whatever that connect. And I did that with these sort of like, so they're like studs with like a single bar connected to it. And I think those turned out really well too. But as you can see, I have this like conning tower up here where you can have a minifigure, you know, standing up here. He does have a little control panel he can touch and a headlights. Now, on Lego's version, they actually made this retractable. There's like a gear inside you can move. And this top part will actually rotate around as well. But in the actual source material, it is not like that. Like, it is fixed in place. It has a ladder to get up to the top. And it actually has like a whole like cylinder like covering it with just like a slight peephole right where his head is. And although I didn't, do that whole thing, I thought I did actually make like a pretty good ladder. This is actually a, what's it called? Like a Technic bar, like the plus sign type bar going all the way up and starting in here. And I made like these little steps that go up. I think that turned out pretty well. The next major part of this is obviously this cannon. It does rotate around 100% because obviously it does. I'm not going to skimp on, those sorts of things. I think, sometimes Lego doesn't do a great job of making things completely as functional as they should be. And so that's something where I wanted to improve upon. I feel like this cannon turned out really well too. It does have a printed piece right there, just as sort of like a control panel. But this is also supposed to be like, it's not manually controlled by someone up here. Like, it's supposed to be like a gunner down there inside the actual set controlling it. Versus Legos has like a little handle piece that you can like place a minifigure on. And I actually have, when I use it, I usually have a minifigure on there, and I think it's pretty cool. But in mine, again, I wanted it to be like as realistic as possible. Okay, so the last thing before we move on to the interior is that, and this I think is something Lego's done really, really well, is most of their large sets will have like a carrying handle with them. Like in this 2017 Turbo Tank, it actually does have a carrying handle, which, is like right in the center of gravity almost, and lets you pick it up without like accidentally breaking any part of it. Mine does not have this because on the inside of the Lego version, it takes up quite a space to have like the correct Technic parts to, have the handle work effectively and not like break any part of it when you pick it up. So mine doesn't have that because I want to maximize the interior space, but it does have these nice, like, you can kind of feel right underneath. There's a lot of space for your hands to go. So, and most of this is pretty stable. Like this roof right here is fixed. All the other parts are panels that can come off. So if you hold it by like the corners, these right here, you can lift the whole thing up really easily. It does weigh quite a lot. Like if I had to guess, it's probably close to 20 pounds, which is a lot for a Lego set. Like this is a really thick set. All right, we are gonna start in the back and go through this whole interior, which again, interiors are like my favorite part of any Lego set. And this is the part I feel like I had the most creative liberty with. Like there was the most amount of things I could do. And yeah, well, here we go. So this panel opens up, and then I'm actually going to remove these side panels as well. But these are on like little ball joints, so they have a bit more mobility. And then this is fixed in place. You can kind of see there's like structures there. So let's get into it. But this first one actually has 4 seats in this rear cockpit. It is going to be kind of hard to get like some camera angles in here, but I'm going to try my best so you can see. But there is 4 control stations. There's the one here, one across from it, and then 2 up front. Move these panels out of the way. Now, in each seat, there is like an actual seat for the minifigs. So they have like there's like a dark gray circular plate, 2x2 plate, and then like the dark tan places that would represent like an actual seat. This actually does have like a steering wheel, control mechanism, some buttons. All of these all have like, for every seat, I wanted to make sure that I had like a place to hold whatever minifigure's weapon they had, because I think another big problem is like there's a lot of seats and sometimes you just have minifigures holding their weapons there. So I actually have these open studs for these 2 seats, and then you can see sort of going into it on the back, there's these clips on the walls which will hold the blasters for the minifig sitting there and across from it. And then the last part really is sort of actually really hard to get this angle, but that front panel right here actually folds back. And I also didn't want the seats to be like super jammed together, so I do have like a stud space or 2 stud space between a lot of them, and you can actually fit like 1 or 2 more minifigures just like standing in between, which I think ends up looking really cool. Like you can have 2 minifigures sitting down, 1 standing in between. I'm actually gonna pause this and snap back to it real fast. All right, perfect. So this is what I'll end up looking. I have 3 of the 4 seats filled. You can see I got like the blaster clipped to the wall back there, and then even like a minifigure standing in between. So this would be really cool to make like scenes with like an officer standing over, like watching, you know, other troops. So I think that ended up turning really cool. And I did use a ton of these printed control panels. It's like gray panel with like some red boxes on there. So that was pretty cool. Okay, this next section, this actually pops off right here. You can see there's kind of some stud connections where it'll go on, but mostly tile. And I wanted to include a weapons rack, so you can kind of see that right there. Like there's a bit of a like translucent background, which I thought was pretty cool, and lots of open studs. These blasters I actually bought with the set, so those are all completely extra. But if I wanted to, like, I could take them out and I would just have 8 more places to store blasters for minifigures. Sorry, this thing is so loud on the table every time. All right, and then on the opposite wall, there's not a whole lot. I have 2 empty crates right now, but some of them I'm gonna put like extra ammo for like stud shooters. Others you could fit like even more blasters inside of. There are quite a bit of crates that will be in this build. And then this other part is actually this ladder right here, which is sort of the idea that like, well, if you're gonna have a minifigure on top, you gotta have a ladder that he climbs up to get there. So yeah, that's where that came from. All right, this next big part, really like the third section of this, is actually a control, or not a control, like a meeting room, like a hologram meeting room. I was able to find this really cool printed piece along with a translucent like Jedi robe figure that you could stand on there, and you'll see the entire ground save for that back cockpit actually has studs on it. So oops, you'll be able to place like minifigures like walking through that hallway right there. You can fit like 10 standing around that table, and yeah, it sort of looks like they have like a control panel for it, and you could have like a whole meeting of people, and also just a ton of like flat spaces. So if you'd rather take pictures with like minifigures in more dynamic poses, you could also literally like just stand them on the floor and balance them, and that'll work perfectly too. Again, these panels can be removed, but I think it's easier just to keep them in place. And there is quite like I can quite literally fit my entire hand in this thing, even in this hallway. Like there's a ton of space to like put stuff, so it's not really like a hindrance that I could remove them if I really needed to, but I'm not hindered from putting minifigures in there in any way. Like it's large enough that it can simply just fit as many as I need to. And yeah, again, quite big interior. Pretty much everywhere that there's like a black tile piece, like a minifigure could stand theoretically. Again, I haven't filled it to its max, but if I had to estimate, I could probably fit like 70 to 80 minifigures in here. It does have, and I'll count the seats later, but I'm pretty sure close to like 45 seats. Okay, this next big interior part, one of my favorite parts of the interior, because both of these panels, the one across from it too, you'll see they've like these little studs on these Technic beams, which the Technic beams are super sturdy, like they hold the top piece in place, and both of them can be easily removed. I mean, like, just look at that. Like, it's such a sleek looking panel. Love those. But yeah, on the inside, we got like a continuation, so like the pathway will follow all the way back, straight back from the room, like all of it. Like, you could have a minifigure walk from the front to the back of this thing. Like, there is space for the entire way. Up top, I've got another Technic thing with like a little storage rack. This crate has like 8 thermal detonators in it, and these little platforms are actually also removable, because it'd be quite hard to access these crates just from in there. So I only have a 4-stud connection for each one. Otherwise, they're just sitting on like blank tiles, so you could easily take them off, you could fill them up, you could put other stuff up there, like really whatever you want. I'm gonna take out this other one as well. That way we can kind of just have like an easier view of everything. But yeah, just those down there. Okay, and then I also have an extra stud or spring-loaded missile for the inside. Not that, I mean, I don't really even need an extra one, but yeah. So in this, I have this central row of seats, which has 6 on either side going all the way up to here. On the back of it are these open studs, which you can actually place blasters in, and they do fit. Like, you can have a minifigure behind, in front and behind, and still have blasters on top. The only problem is some really long blasters don't fit because they get blocked by this upper Technic portion. That's totally fine. Then you have sort of the hallway going in between, and again, this is the exact same on the other side. Like, the hallway goes in between. And then I have 3 seats on the edge as well. Also, I've included these little control panels on either side, there and there. That was sort of a creative liberty in the actual set, or in like the source materials. Like, these control panels would have maybe controlled for like this Top Gun maybe, or I don't know. Really whatever you want. I'm not super nerdy. Really nerdy, but not that much. Okay. And then this front section will open up as well. This comes down. And then this last control section. And these open up, but they stop right there. You can remove them, but again, I like to just keep them in place because there is more than enough space for minifigures. So for this front, I actually have 2 more holders on either side for more weapons. You can see I have this thing you can actually take out, and it has control panels along with like these translucent blue sort of like screens, almost kind of like the Echo base build. And behind it, this is actually where like a commander would be standing. So if you have like a Jedi or like a clone commander, like that's where you would be able to put it and have it like, you know, in charge of all the stuff going on. They have like this little screen to look at, and you can put this back. Perfect. So this seat here and on the other side are supposed to be the gunners. So they're going to be the ones controlling like the side cannons along with the front cannons down here. And then this section, these 2 seats right here are supposed to be navigators. And then these 3 are supposed to be the actual pilots. So you can see like I have some more of these printed pieces where it's like the control panels. Commander doesn't really have any control panels. They have like these 2 back here to look at. Lots of like colored studs or like tiled stud pieces like a speedometer, some other controls, and this is kind of like a, I don't know, kind of like if you imagine like this is just an office desk for a clone trooper. Maybe they got like a trophy or something. So I end up, yeah, this part was really cool. But it does have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with the commander seats, along with standing space for 2 more, maybe 4 people, along with standing space in the entire hallway. So in total, 8 seats in this front cockpit with 18 more seats, so it's 26 in the midsection, 4 seats back here, that comes to 30, and then you've got a seat there along with a standing space there, that's 32, plus our last 10 designated seats in here. So if I were to fill up every single seat in this thing, I would actually have 42 seats full. But keep in mind, like, for every seat, there is probably standing room for another clone trooper. So if I were to fill up all 42 seats in the bottom, I would be able to seat, 42 clone troopers. But I also have like all this standing space, like over here, completely empty. This can easily fit like another 10 clones just standing around this table. Like you can easily have like 8 on either side walking up and down the hallway, another like 4 in the front, and you can already see like you could fit more in this hallway. And then I've already even got one standing back there. He's not even on a seat. So all in all, I feel like you could fit upwards of 80. Again, this thing, super, super easy to make. Like it took almost no pieces whatsoever. And the great part about it is I have these 2 sections. So like this one I made to go in the back and a speeder to go in the front. But realistically, you could make a second one of these and fill up another 10 and literally have 20 clones like in the bottom, just the bottom section, which I think is pretty amazing. So anyways, this build was like so much fun to make, like literally one of the most amazing things, because this was like a dream of mine to like design a Lego set, and I literally did. Like I designed a Lego set. In my opinion, I think it's better than Lego's version, certainly better than their most recent turbo tank. This ended up for just the parts costing about $350, which $350 for 3,000 Lego parts is not absurd. Like it is a high amount, and most people probably aren't going to spend that much on a Lego set, but this is literally like I think that was like $120, and this is like twice as big, so the price almost matches. That is a little over 1,000 pieces, and this is 3,000. So if you're going by piece count alone, like the prices are literally proportional, which I feel like is really good. But I think this is way better quality than anything Lego's produced. Like, if I had to compare this to one set, I think this is close to the UCS AT-AT as far as like the interior, like the quality of the build. So I honestly think like, and that, I think the UCS AT-AT was like 600, 650 when it first came out. No, baby. Good boy. So I think this is like really close. Like you could compare this to that set, and yeah. So like price wise, this ended up being perfect. If you enjoyed this, if you enjoyed seeing this and you want to see more builds, definitely like consider subscribing, like the video, comment on the video. I'd love to read comments. I actually have this design posted on Bricklink. So if you go to Bricklink, it's a huge site where you can sell and buy Legos, you can design MOCs, all that. But if you go to MOCs, which MOC stands for My Own Creation, click on the popular tab and then search up Turbo Tank, and you'll see my design on there. I'm working on getting some more pictures of it. I'm definitely going to add one with like all the minifigures in there, and I'll include a picture at the end of this video of it completely filled up, at least for the seats, with minifigures to kind of see how that works. I actually have like, I brought down like a lot of clones with me. I think I have like 96 clone minifigures, but That's like barely enough to fill this thing up, which is insane. Like, I think that's so cool. I didn't actually buy any minifigures with this. I was just kind of relying on the fact that I have a lot to fill it up. So I was super excited about this, but for holding like 80 minifigs, for being 3,000 pieces, $350, like this turned out really, really well. Almost as good as, as an actual Lego set. So yeah, thank you for watching if you've seen this entire thing. M&R Productions, if you ever see this, hit me up, bro. I would love to do a collaboration. I'd love to bring this over to your house and literally show you. Like, you're an awesome YouTuber. Watch a ton of your stuff. Yeah. Check out my design on Bricklink. All right, see ya.